Female Football Focus, switching the field, keeping you updated with the latest women's football news.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is you're listening to this, and whatever you are doing, welcome to episode 2 of Female Football Focus. In today's episode, we will be, of course, talking about England's win over Scotland last night, but before that, let's do a quick overview of what's happened this week in the World Cup so far. Hosts France opened up the World Cup with a whopping 4-0 win over Korea. France got their first goal in the first 10 minutes, thanks to Les Sommières. That was the earliest goal in the opening match at a Women's World Cup. VAR came into play for the first time after disallowing France's second goal. No problem for France though, as they used their height advantage to get their second. Renard's accurate headers secured the second and third goals. And finally, to end the game, Les Sommières curled the fourth goal into the bottom corner. What a great technique and beautiful goal that was. If you haven't seen it, I certainly recommend you watching it on YouTube or something because it was a very good goal. Probably the best goal of the game. Korea did defend a lot better in the second half, but couldn't do anything to get through the strong French defence. A perfect opening game for the hosts. Also in Group A, Norway took on Nigeria. Norway opened the scoring in the 17th minute with help from a deflection. The second came in the 34th minute with an unmarked Auckland striking through the ball through the keeper's hand. Very poor defending there by Nigeria. Minutes after, Norway got their third with an own goal off O'Harley. Nigeria managed to hold Norway in the second half and even had a couple of decent chances themselves, but not enough to challenge the Norwegian goalkeeper. A good start for Norway, winning the game 3-0. So France top Group A on goal difference, with Norway just one goal behind. Wednesday's games will be very interesting as France take on Norway and Korea take on Nigeria. Time to see if France can live up to their expectations. On to Group B now, a very tough game. Germany took on China. Two quite big teams, both expected to qualify. Germany especially, they're one of the favourites to win. Both teams had a lot of big chances either end. China hit the post, Germany hit the crossbar, but the goal that won the game came from the youngster Gavin. China struggled to clear their lines, and it fell to the youngster on the edge of the box, who took a touch and rifled it into the bottom corner. It was a superb goal. Again, if you haven't seen the goal, I really recommend going onto YouTube or something and watching it because it was a superb goal. The game was extremely entertaining with big chances either end, and Germany just scraped the win. However, a very promising start from both teams. Also in this tough group, Spain took on South Africa. This is South Africa's first World Cup, and wow, didn't they start it well? Thanks to their speedy attackers and a quick counter-attack, South Africa opened the scoring. However, this was disallowed for offside. This should have been an early warning to Spain. Not long after though, another quick counter-attack and a beautiful lofted ball from outside the box over the keeper's head secured South Africa's first goal of a World Cup. Perhaps the Spanish goalkeeper could have done a bit better, but Benyana, what a finish, and great start from the outsiders South Africa. As Spain tried to push forward, South Africa kept trying the counter-attack, and it took until the 69th minute for Spain to get back into it from a penalty after a handball. With not long remaining, Spain was saved the embarrassment with a VAR giving another penalty. I didn't see it and nor did many of the others, so credit to VAR, it was very much a penalty, and that is the first red card of the tournament so far. With South Africa being on such a high, it was taken away from them, and to finish the game off, young Garcia from Spain kept her cool and took the ball around the goalkeeper to tap it in and secure a 3-1 victory over a 10-man South African side. But what an interesting group this is. Both favourites scraped through just, but that does put Spain top of the group on goal difference. They're tied with Germany. Now, Germany do face Spain next, and South Africa play China. Both games could go either way. It's going to be a very entertaining group. On to Group C now, and if you thought the South African game was a shocker, get this. Italy beat Australia 2-1 after having not appeared in a World Cup for 20 years. Italy opened up the scoring early on, but was disallowed by VAR for offside because of her shoulder. It was an extremely tight decision, and it brings in the question, is VAR good? Do people like VAR? Because VAR's come into the World Cup a lot so far, every decision has been correct, but for some people believe that it is ruining the game. I mean, we'll talk about VAR a lot more when we get onto the England game, because that was a big decision that influenced the game early on. 10 minutes after though, Australia came back and were awarded a penalty for a foul on Kerr. Now, Australia don't have the best statistic when it comes to penalties in a World Cup. They have never scored from the spot, and the curse lives on. Australia still haven't scored from a penalty kick in a World Cup. Yep, the Italian goalkeeper did really well to deny Kerr the chance from the spot, but unfortunately it rebounded off her palm straight into Kerr's feet, who managed to slot it home to take the lead. I mean, the Italian defence weren't the greatest in this situation, as they were very slow to follow the runners. It almost looked like they just thought Australia were going to score, and that was it. They all just kind of stood there, and when they saw the keeper saved it, then they decided to follow it in, and some ran, others kind of jogged. But I definitely think if the Italian defence followed it in straight away, maybe they could have stopped Kerr from scoring. In the second half, Italy piled on the pressure, and it paid off. Australia made a mistake at the back, and a cool, calm Bonusea slotted one into the bottom corner to punish Australia. At 1-1, this was anyone's game, and Italy kept pushing and got another, but again, just like their first goal, it was ruled offside. After an extremely entertaining game, just when you thought it was all over, in the last minute, a messy free kick from the right-hand side that Australia couldn't clear was put in by Bonusea to win the game for Italy. And I thought Australia were going to go far. Now perhaps Italy will. They've put themselves in a great position. What a win for them, and what a game. So there you have it, the most shocking game of the World Cup so far. Italy taking a 2-1 victory over Australia. Also in Group C, Brazil took on Jamaica. Now this is Formiga's 4th World Cup, believe it or not, and only Jamaica's first. With Marta on the bench, I guess many wondered what Brazil could do. I mean, I certainly was a bit, who have Brazil got? Because in the She Believes Cup, they were kind of carried by Marta all the way. Even though they didn't win a game, they got extremely close. I mean, they only lost to England 2-1, and USA they lost 1-0. So I did question it, but they proved that they don't need her to score goals. Cristiane got their first in the 15th minute with a lovely header into the bottom right corner. Brazil were then awarded a penalty from a handball, which was saved by the amazing young keeper Schneider. She performed extremely well in this game and kept the scoreline down. Despite this, Brazil proved they still had goals in them, and with help from goal line technology, Cristiane claimed her second goal with a tap-in at the back post. But she wasn't finished there. To claim the match ball, she scored a wonderful free kick off the crossbar, again with help from goal line technology. That puts Brazil top with Italy on goal difference. Let's see if Australia can turn that around with a win over group favourites Brazil in the next game. What a shock it would be if Italy qualified and Australia didn't. But there's still a long way to go, still 2 more games in each group. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. So on to England now. England took on Scotland and we did win 2-1. And a lot of people didn't think we performed that well. And I mean, we didn't really, watching the game. And we're going to talk about that in a bit, but let's talk about the game first. So there was a bit of a controversial decision in the first half. So England were awarded a penalty because of handball against a Scottish player. Now, it was extremely tight, it was close. Kirby was, 4 yards, 5 yards away from the Scottish player, and she crossed the ball in, and the ball hit the Scottish player's arm. Now, her arm was in an unnatural position, and in the new rules, if your arm is in an unnatural position, then it is a penalty, and I think it was the totally right decision, but I do see both sides. So basically it happened, no one saw it, I didn't see it, the ref didn't see it, I don't think the lino saw it, I don't think the players even saw it. Did anyone call it? I didn't see anyone call it, but the ball went out of play and the ref stopped play because VAR were looking at the incident, and not long after, they told the ref to go and look at the screen. She went to the screen, watched it, took a while to decide on what she was going to do, and she decided to give a penalty. And I think that was the totally right decision. There has been similar instances in the World Cup so far, especially with handball and these new rules, and they've all been given, so consistency, it kind of had to be given, and it was handball. Like, you can't say it, in the new rules it was handball, you can't say it wasn't handball. Like I said, I see why people are complaining, because it is a hard one. Like, she was really close, like, you can't move your arm out of the way, but then her arm shouldn't have been there in the first place. Because of the new rules, you now have these defenders defending with their hands behind their back, which is tough, it's hard, but that's how they make sure that they don't give a penalty away. But a rule's a rule. Like, I think VAR is really good because, I mean, it just makes it fair for everybody, but I see it does kind of take away that aspect of football. The problem is handball is such a grey area, and this new rule, they've tried to make it like more clear, but I think they've kind of made it worse, because it is extremely hard to defend with like your arms behind your back. But that is what new rules are making the game become. You just have to be a lot more careful. I do think the handball rule is a bit unfair, and I know they've only just changed it, but I do think it needs to change, or they need to elaborate it a bit, because it was extremely unfair. Like, the Scottish girl, yes, her hand was in an unnatural position, but she couldn't really do anything. Like, if you're trying to like block a cross, you kind of just throw yourself at the ball. A rule's a rule. Like, that's why I agree with the decision. But VAR is one of the biggest topics right now. Should we have it? Should we not? Personally, I think we should, because at the end of the day, a rule is a rule, and like, I'd much rather lose out because you were a toe offside, or because your arm was in an unnatural position when the ball struck it, and lose out on that, rather than lose out because your goal was disallowed because you were onside. At least VAR clarifies the rules, and it's fair for both teams. I think that is the biggest thing that VAR gives. It gives fairness between both teams. So personally, in my opinion, I think VAR is extremely good for the game. So anyway, back onto the game, and England got the penalty. Nikita Paris, Lyon's new signing, stepped up to take the penalty, and of course she finished it. 1-0 to England, with England piling on the pressure. Just before half-time, Scotland struggled to clear their lines, and the ball fell to White, who bent it into the corner of the goal to bring England into half-time 2-0 up. In the second half, Scotland certainly stepped up their game, and in the last 10 minutes they managed to get one back, albeit it was extremely poor from England, especially our defence. Like, what were we doing? Major mistake by our captain Horton, literally passed the ball to the Scottish player, and they managed to finish. They punished us, and it was a very close 10 minutes from then on, as Scotland kept trying to attack, and we were like unsure. That wasn't how the game was meant to go. We were meant to win it comfortably, and in the end we only won it 2-1. Now, the side has faced a lot of criticism since then about how they played. I mean, I don't think we played awful. It was a very tough game. There was a lot going on. Like Neville said, it's probably one of the toughest group games, and it proved it was. Scotland aren't a bad side. This being their first World Cup means nothing. They're a very young side, very up and coming. A lot of things in the future, even now for Scotland, like, they've proved they're a contender in the group, and I think they will qualify. I think they'll give Japan a good game. I certainly think they'll give Argentina a good game. But I think every team so far has come out. A lot of them get over it in the first half, but I think a lot of teams have come out looking extremely nervy in the first half. Like, I think even, I'll give the example of Korea. They looked extremely nervy, but albeit this was their first game in the World Cup, and I mean, they were against France. Like, the crowd was crazy in that game, so they had reason to be nervous, and every team has reason to be nervous. it's a big tournament, it's a big game, and I think that did come into our performance yesterday against Scotland. I think we did look nervy out there, but hopefully we've got that out of our system now. The game was very mental as well, like, because it was Scotland, it was a big game, and it was our first game. There was a lot of things going on. Like, yeah, we didn't play that great, but I kind of understand. So long as we step it up against Japan, it's all good. We just need to win the group, and it's all fine. I hope that we don't play like that again, because if we play like that against the big teams, we are gonna get punished. Like, we're not gonna win if we play like that. So we definitely need to step up our game. The team definitely have it in them. I mean, I believe in them, and I think that was just the first game. The fact it was Scotland, nerves and all that. I still think we are big contenders to win the trophy. And finally, just to top the win off, this was the UK's most watched women's football match of all time, with 6.1 million viewers. Wow. I mean, that proves that the women's game is certainly on the up, and I guess the way we performed probably didn't help, but hopefully that figure's only going to go up as the competition goes on, especially if we qualify. Before then, the previous record was only 4 million viewers. So, wow, that's a big difference, and that was in England's Euro game, the semi-final against the Netherlands. So that was a massive game. This was only a group game. Okay, so it is the UK, so Scotland and England, whereas the last one was just England because England were playing the Netherlands. But I'm sure Scottish people watch that, Welsh people watch that, but like I said, it can only go up. There's a long way to go in the competition. It's only the first game. Don't think there's any reason to stress. I'm sure we'll pull through. I have a lot of belief in the side. So let's hope they can perform. I'd like to say a nice easy game against Argentina next, but no game is easy. I mean, look at Italy. They haven't been in a World Cup for 20 years and they go and beat Australia, and I favoured Australia. I thought Australia were going to go far. I mean, they still can. Maybe it was like the England game, maybe they were just nervy, but who knows, anything could happen. But I think we have a really good side and a really good chance in this World Cup. So yeah, that pretty much concludes episode 2. Thank you for listening. I hope you listen to more. The next episode will be on Saturday after our next game against Argentina. That is played on Friday the 14th of June at 8 p.m. So make sure you're watching, make sure you're listening on Saturday to this. I think we are going to see a lot more surprises as well as more VAR decisions, some more controversial than others. But yeah, come on England, make sure you're following us on Instagram and Twitter. We will be more active soon. We're just waiting for confirmation to get the podcast on iTunes, and then we will be a lot more active everywhere. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you tune in to the next episode.